Welcome back. Happy Thanksgiving week. Today I'll be reviewing Lubin's Itasca. It was released in 2010. The nose behind it is Lucin Ferrero, and it's categorized as an Oriental Woody. Not much discussion about this one. When I first spray this fragrance on, I get a fizzy juniper and bright citrus. Also, there's a little yellow flower mingling in the distance. I perceive this as marigold. And growing up as a little kid, my grandparents and my mother used to grow marigolds in the yard. And if you've never smelled marigold before, it has a very peculiar aroma. It doesn't smell like any other flower you're used to smelling, like lilies or roses, anything like that. It has a musky, thick. I don't want to call it off-putting because it doesn't smell off-putting, but it's quite an earthy smell, and I feel like marigold plays a significant role in the opening of this fragrance, and maybe that's due to my history with the flower and smelling it at a very young age for quite a while. But that's what I perceive in the opening. It's bright, and it is a little citrusy, but I wouldn't call it youthful. It's you can definitely tell from the very beginning this is a serious fragrance. That opening lasts for a little while. The citrusy part of the fragrance burns off after about 5 minutes, as well as the juniper, but I can pick up on that marigold note for a while, even in through the middle of the fragrance. So that marigold carries over, and I can also pick up after about 5 to 10 minutes green herbs. It still has a fresh edge to it, but you can tell it's turning darker. It's getting more smoky, and there's a fir and pine resin that's ushered in, and that just helps to aid in that green tone. These green tones have a sparkle to them. It's not a flat green like a grassy green. It's very much an evergreen forest kind of sensation, and that sparkle comes from the incense in this fragrance. It takes quite a while for this to dry down to its final resting point. And once it does, that marigold note goes away. I can only pick up on the marigold for about 2 hours. That fades, and you're still left with that green pine resin. And it has a softness to it. So, for me to describe how the pine smells in this, it's not like picking up a handful of sappy white pine needles. It doesn't have that acidic, rough around the edges, green smell to it. It's not sticky. Everything's smoothed over it. It's soft, and if you took some of the essence of that pine needle smell, but you combine it with a fuzzy benzoin without the vanilla, that really fluffy, soft, fuzzy feeling that benzoin gives, that's how I can probably most accurately describe it. The incense still sticks around, and it's paired with vetiver. And both the vetiver and the incense give this smoky aura to it. Now, it's not smoky like cigarette smoke or birch tar, but it smells ritualistic. Like there's something going on here with a gathering of people, and they're burning incense or maybe dried wood, that kind of smell. Everything in the base is smoothed over with a gentle touch of amber. At the very end of this, you can tell that you've been on a journey. And for me, this fragrance is very evocative. And if I can describe it in a, you know, a storyteller kind of way, I would consider this to be the official fragrance of the Lewis and Clark expedition, as they're going through the Midwest and they're starting to enter the forests of the West. So it's as if Lewis and Clark are coming to the end of their day. The sun is starting to set, and they're approaching a trailhead just before they enter a forest. There's snow on the ground. The trail has been well worn, but there's snow on the edges. So you can see the tracks in the snow, and you're about to enter into a pine forest. So the sun starts to go down. As they enter the forest, they can pick up on these green notes of the pine and the fir resins that they're smelling as they go through the forest, passing different trees. And as they get deeper into the forest, they can smell smoke coming from somewhere, and they can hear a gathering of people. So it begins to get even darker, and they're approaching a camp, and they can tell there's a fire going on, and there's a gathering of Indians in the forest. So the smoke becomes more evident, and they can definitely pick up on the ritual that's going on. So the sun has been completely set. It's dark. It's slightly smoky. They introduce themselves to the Indians, and there's a warm embrace. So that's how I would describe this fragrance in kind of a story. And for me, that it's evocative, and it really shows a masterful use of vetiver in a fragrance. The vetiver in the base really is the main player, but it never is allowed to take over the composition completely. If you've smelled Bellamy vetiver or Eau Sauvage Parfum, you can get an idea of how vetiver can take over a fragrance by the very end. And this really shows a masterful blending technique of vetiver, incense, and pine. And really those three notes are your key notes. I think if you like all of those, and you know you're a cone head, or you know you're a resin and pine lover, I think this is an absolute must try. This fragrance is going to get my best rating. It's really everything that I enjoy in fragrances. The resinous feel, the greens, and just a light touch of smoke, and everything's, you know, perfectly balanced. And really, if I were to describe, you know, this fragrance in only a few words, it definitely would be perfectly balanced. It's got everything that I enjoy. The performance is very good. I can only spray this a few times, and I'll definitely pick up on it after 10 hours plus. But you know, this isn't a choke out kind of fragrance. You know, it's not an overpowering composition. You know, you're probably going to project for an hour or two, but you know, beyond that, you know, people will definitely pick up on you as you go by them, you know, as you walk by them. But you're never going to overpower the room. If you've tried this one, let me know what you think about it. I'm one of its biggest fans. I think it's a must-try for any serious fragrance connoisseur. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned for more.